Gacha games, gacha games, gacha games. Some of us love them, most of us are addicted to them, and more than any other game genre, it feels like people get mad, like really mad, like all the time. I don't know what's happening here. So today we're ranking some of the most popular, controversial, generational gacha game controversies of all time. Starting with an absolute classic, Genshin Impact's first anniversary. I don't think this needs any introduction, unless you've been living under a rock or don't play gacha games, to which, what are you doing here? Let's talk about it briefly anyway. Genshin Impact, at the peak of its popularity, transcended the gacha game bubble to enter the mainstream, made billions of dollars in months, and as the anniversary approached, people were expecting crazy stuff. They'd received a lot of love, and were expecting to receive part of it back in the form of, I don't know, a free 5 stars, a decent amount of polls, and then what happened? This is what they gave: 10 polls. And people got really mad. They started review bombing the game, they started review bombing other apps, including Google Classrooms. They started using this emote, Fallen Chichi, and spammed it in the Discord server. It was glorious. And deserved. Absolutely deserved. I can only call it a generational crash out. I think this is the gacha game controversy to trump them all. So yeah, obviously goes into generational crash out. In the end, after people got really mad, they did end up giving another 10 poll through the mail and a glider that was already set to come out at some point, but the damage was done. And I didn't include any other Genshin anniversary controversy because, in all honesty, it's more of the same, but like it gets milder the more years pass because people just got accustomed to it at some point. If I had to add more, it would be like 1, 2, like year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4. Are we in year 5? Yes, we are in year 5, so like it would go here. I mean, even year 5 I don't think was a controversy because they did give a 5 star. So yeah, let's move on to the second one. Now here's Chen with content question mark written on top of the image. This is Arknight's Enfield. You'll notice throughout the course of the video that for some of the situations that I've included, I'm definitely using the word controversy very loosely. As for this, Arknight's Enfield, great game. I praised it to all hell. You can find the shorts on my channel. But after you're done with maxing out what you need out of the factories, there really isn't much to do. Again, I'm using the word controversy very loosely here, but as a general complaint, I would call this justified. I don't think anybody would disagree with this. Now, we got a situation here, Jesus Christ. This took place in 2023 when Elliot Gindi, Tehnari's original voice actor, was exposed for sexual harassment and grooming. Just heinous stuff to learn about. This situation wasn't small in the slightest. Weavers themselves had to come out and respond to this. Millions of views on Twitter. Plenty of other voice actors also came up publicly to condemn him, as they should, because he also ended up admitting to everything. I'm not taking the situation lightly. I've included it just because it was such a big situation that I couldn't just ignore it, but I think none of these tiers really do it, so I'll just make another one below and just leave it at that. It's just horrible. All right, let's move on to something more lighthearted. Klukai gacha skin over on Girls Frontline 2. Editing Tomo here. I need to change my placement here, okay? I'll spare the yappening. I ended up putting in a nothing burger, but before you get mad, pause, wait. I honestly had forgotten just how bad it was on release on the Chinese servers, because I'm just a global player, okay? I just play global. I join in. Sometimes I know what's going on in the Chinese server. Most of the time I don't. It would go in justified, because what do you mean $200 for a fucking gacha skin? But yeah, that's all. If someone complains about the placement, listen, I came here to change it, okay? Now, let's just go to the next one. Now, this one is a doozy for plenty of reasons. In case you don't know what this is, Limbus Company had a summer event, one where 2 characters had, let's say, summer-related variants. The male character was exposed while the female one, Ishmael, had a wetsuit. So nothing really to see there. And the Koreans crashed out. If you looked at it superficially, you'd think it was just because Ishmael wasn't in a bikini, but if you look into it a bit more, it's because it's assumed by that portion of the player base that this decision happened because an artist responsible for this was a radical feminist. If you think gender war is bad in the Western world, take a trip through Korean internet. It gets bad. The situation then derailed monstrously. People started review bombing the game, demanding for the termination of said artist, and from what I've been able to gather, apparently the artists were actually men, but Project Moon did cave in and terminate that one female artist, but that's also a contentious point. Depending on who you ask, it's a mess. I don't have any skin in this game. I like Limbus Company, but like this is completely out of my depth. I can only call it generational because of how mad they got, but I don't know if I would call it justified. Now this, I included a Hilichurl picture because during a tour of MiHoYo's headquarters, we could see a shot of someone working on Hilichurl dances with some sort of indigenous tribe as their reference material, and because of this, Hilichurls were thought to be some sort of portrayal of these tribes, which to some felt weird at the beginning because it was the most abundant enemy variety in the game, and in the same beat they were also shown to be highly intelligent and capable of speech. So why did we have to fight them? Basically, people were accusing HoYoverse of racism. That's what it was, which is gonna be a thing that happens quite often during Kenshin's lifespan, but hey, a black man's talking, so listen up. I don't think HoYoverse made Hilichurls as some sort of racist dog whistle, but I can see why people might have been a little uncomfortable at the beginning. Nowadays, with all that we know about Hilichurls, I still wonder why we're allowed to kill them, but that's another topic for another day. I'll just put it in debatable. You know what, I'll just take it down a peg. I'll just put it in why though, because I mean, why you're looking at Hilichurls and thinking of real people, that's also kind of weird. But all in all, I think it has some arguments. I think they kind of fall flat though. Now, I included Love in Deep Space here because a lot has happened, and I talked about this in a short. Let me pull this up. Massive day for the unemployed. Drama in the Love in Deep Space community. It is mostly rumors, but still, the community is on fire, or was a week ago when this Reddit post on getting most of the info from came out. Full disclosure, I've not played a single minute of Love in Deep Space, and I'm just talking about it because the situation is so fucking hilarious to me. So what's being alleged? Number 1, an employee has been alleged of LARPing as a regular community member to astroturf good opinions about the company. This guy should look into CIA employment in case he ever loses his job. He'd fit right in. Number 2, marketing staff allegedly embezzled over 100 million RMB from merch funds. That is roughly 14 million USD. But apparently the guy got arrested, so minus 14 mil, I guess. Number 3, some former female staff members were accused of abusing their position at offline events, interacting intimately with cosplayers, and allegedly mocking Otome players, which is wild considering that's literally who pays their bills. Like, imagine if the ZZZ devs hated Gooners, bro. That'd be the same fucking oh my god. In any case, Paper Games has denied everything, as you would expect. I have to mention that, of course. But yeah, you gotta wonder just how many people probably up and quit the game after all this. That's crazy, ain't it? That week of February, everything fucking happened in that game. I will call it generational. I don't know about crash out, but like, it's generational. Maybe I'll just remove crash out. Just put generational. This is generational. $14 million stolen, staff fucking the cosplayers, and then TRing the players. I mean, I don't know if they were actually fucking. Allegedly, of course. It's just fucking insane. Next up, we have this, but I actually want to switch it up with this. They're both about Wuthering Waves, but I would like to talk about this one first. Wuthering Waves 1.0. Wuthering Waves 1.0 was a bit of a mess. The game had a lot of promise, but it wasn't amazing, and it absolutely altered the reputation of the game like forever. A lot of people that I've heard that have played the game have not played the game in 2.0 or in 3.0, only in 1.0 and 1.1, and the game was very rough around the edges. There's no other way to put it. As a reaction, I will put it as totally justified. I don't think there's anybody who would disagree, but you can prove me wrong in the comments. You're free to do so. Now, Penacony, HSR Penacony, and this is Penacony in particular. Now, I have somebody to blame here. I'm calling somebody out today. Now, Ryuko Sensei, I actually found this video pretty good. I mean, it's definitely fair, but I think this video did start the controversy against HSR's storytelling. I think this was the patient zero, I feel like. Yeah, Tectone reacted to this with 170,000 views. I do think that's definitely something that has been an issue, but I don't think it was as big of an issue in Penacony simply because the stories weren't as long. It's one of those things. Have I said this in a video? I feel like I have. Let's talk about Penacony Furious. This story had suddenly gotten way too long for its own good. So the issue of not doing anything, just talking and talking until you get a cutscene, it was okay maybe when you had 3 hours of story every month. but it becomes an issue when each month they become 8, and then they quickly compound into being, what, 60 hours of story for Euphorius? And that was before we had a skip button. Penacony, to me, was perfectly doable. It had definitely its slow moments, but the percentage of them compared to what will be Euphorius was simply a lot less that it was manageable. I think this is justified, like this is between justified and debatable. I would debate that Penacony didn't have that problem that much. Of course, if you really want to play the game during the story, that's of course a fair critique and preference, but I don't think it's a deal breaker in HSR specifically. We're going to talk about something else that was a bit of a deal breaker at the beginning for me, and it's right after. Now, Zenless Zone Zero and the TVs. I'm not sure whether the TVs are still in the game other than in that one mode of which name I can't fucking remember. But for those of you who don't remember, Zenless Zone Zero used to rely on this TV minigame sort of mode where you explored hollows in this TV kind of world. No Persona 4. And people didn't like it. It felt like you were just doing puzzles until you could actually play the game, and they've completely cut them out of the story. With Season 2, we started getting actual explorable areas that you can also explore like outside of the story, and I think the game does flow a lot better because of it. At the beginning of ZZZ, I was one of the more skeptical voices, although I loved the art direction of that game. I felt like the substance of it in terms of like gameplay wasn't all that, and I still kind of think that, but that's maybe another topic for another day. But I do think that cutting out the TVs into their own mode was a most definite needed improvement, and I'm glad that people were mad about this. So justified. Now we got something to talk about. Dea Sumeru patch 3.5, one of the most hyped up, fan favorite, hot characters in the game in the time. She came out and was garbage. She came out and was ass. Never got a buff. They never did anything with her. Just put it on the standard banner and called it a day. People hated it. Everybody hated it. I don't think anybody would say that people being mad about this was unjustified. Like, listen, if I play Dea and I want to play her and I use all my time and resources to build her and I can't do shit in Abyss, I'm not gonna be liking that character anymore. Like, I'm not gonna be huffing on Copian trying to make her work because it just becomes unfun. And I feel like that's what a lot of people felt with this character as well. Like, if you don't care about how a character plays, then you probably don't care about the game. I think that's my opinion. Now, the face of everything wrong with HSR. Not everything, but a lot wrong with HSR. Castoris. In case you didn't know, HSR during its 2nd anniversary introduced Castoris, and this character came with a global passive. What's a global passive? An ability that works simply because she is on your account. She doesn't have to be in the team. She doesn't have to be in the other team of the endgame mode. With Castoris, it was that if you got killed, she would revive, and if you healed enough, the character would be alive again. And that was once per battle. Once per every character in battle. So yeah, when people read this, got outraged, I got outraged. I was like, what the fuck are you guys doing? I've come back to HSR recently. Comeback is a big word. I've been in... let's just say that I like playing Arcadia more than I did on Forest. I'll say that. In the end, they never stopped doing global passives. People were being shamed for pulling for Castoris, which I found that part kind of fucking weird. But just a mix of things with HSR's power creep, and then you put this in the game. It's like you're spitting in the face of players. They haven't, as I've said before, they haven't stopped. Now, Super Wolf has what? Effect res. I think these abilities should not be in the game. Full stop. But yeah, I think I've talked your ears enough. I think this goes at the top of justified. Now, another HSR one that probably just goes right next to it. HSR not having 4-star characters. Power creep has been an issue. One of the ways that you make power creep less of a burden to your players is giving them other options to reach the power levels that they need. Whether that is buffs, which they've been doing and has been working with their noble flares, but 4 stars would also improve this, because I still don't understand why Pridewind doesn't have a team's tier list, because in reality every single one of these characters really need their full team, which sounds like a no-brainer, but when they're all limited 5 stars, it becomes kind of fucking ridiculous, to the point that back in the day they had a partner tag, right? Kafka would be tier 0, and the reason she would be tier 0 would be because of a partner tag, meaning that she would need a partner to work at her best. Now they don't even mention that because that's become baseline, and I hate this. And the reason why I hate it is because it's not like you can still play these characters at a decent level without their full team. No, they're just unrunnable. Listen, Kafka Black Swan isn't really gonna clear you much without high silence. And I would know because I have these two, but I don't have her. Firefly just got buffed, but really her actual buff was Dahlia. I lost my 50-50 on Dahlia, so I can't play my Firefly with E0S1. I guess this turned into more of a general power creep debate by me, but like the thing stands with 4 stars. We need more options, more accessible options for our teams. Now, this image, Dory. Dory isn't actually the controversy here. The controversy here is Sumeru and Nadlin too, but let's start with Sumeru and the skin tones. People were mad that they weren't black enough or dark skinned enough because Sumeru is based on India and Arab countries, but like you look at the characters and they're kinda all white. Now, do I give a fuck? No. Black man here, I don't give a fuck. But this was a big complaint by a lot of people. I mean, a lot of Twitter people. Would I say it was generational? Would I say it was justified? This is more of the same as the illustral one, so I guess I'll put it next to it. It's just people calling Hoyo racist, and listen, it's a Chinese company. I wouldn't put that past them, but do I really care? No. With Nadlin, I didn't include this. I didn't want to make a difference because it's kind of the same thing. But with Nadlin is a bit more blatant because like you have a character that is named after a Nigerian god and he's white. So like what's happening here? With Sumer, you could make the argument that a lot of Arab people are just more pale than people give them credit for. But with Nadlin is kind of head scratcher. Should I include it as a different image? You know what? I'll do that. I'll do it debatable. I think with Nadlin is a lot more justified. I wouldn't call it something you should necessarily care about too much, but that's just me. Okay, now we have some Wuthering Waves stuff. This is treatment of male characters. Wuthering Waves started with 1.0 with a male character, and you would have thought that the game would have been like pretty split on gender. It didn't end up being that way. You get like 2 males per patch cycles. I think 3.x only got 1. This isn't really debatable. I feel like, of course, if you don't want to pull for men, that's absolutely fine. I feel like even men would like some cool dudes to pull, some cool characters. And oh my god, I forgot to add this. I was gonna add the same thing, but for Zenless Zone Zero. I think in Zenless Zone Zero, they get done even dirtier because like half of the time they just kind of suck, or they get put right before a X.0 patch. You know what? You consider this even the Zenless Zone Zero one. They're the same problem basically. Male characters being treated like second-class citizens. I think it sucks. Now, this is Wuthering Waves' first anniversary. Now, this one was a bit of a head scratcher because on one hand, people had insanely high expectations that were bound to be simply not met. A limited 5-star selector, really. But on the other hand, some things were judged too harshly in my opinion, like the rerun of the limited characters. I really don't think these hurt anyone. Why were you all so mad about them? And those same people probably wish that was back now in year 2. But on the other hand, these cube events, what the fuck were they cooking? Let me just justify, whatever, you'll go there. Stella Sora. Now, I've made a whole video about this. Hey, listen, Stella Sora is a fun game, or was fun game, but bulk of the issue was Petty was bad, Gacha was bad. They doubled the price of pulls from 1,500 gems to 3,000 from the beta to the live version. Ridiculous stuff, I think. Like, imagine if, I don't know, let me pick up a game that is coming up that is going to be really popular as a gacha game. Silver Palace. I don't think there's been Silver Palace betas yet, but imagine they doubled the cost of pulls from the last beta to live. People would crash the fuck out. So I have trouble not putting this in generational because this is a generational fumble more than like a generational crash out by players. You can say it goes maybe a tier down because it wasn't that popular, and I was going to say that earlier, but you know what? I like this positioning. Now, the Zhongli situation. Zhongli, when he came out in 1.1, wasn't that good, simply put. And especially the Chinese player base was outraged by that. Liyue is China in Genshin. This is the god of China, and you're telling me he kind of just sucks. And so Hoyoverse did something that they, in the history of the game, will never do again. Buff Zhongli from being a okay character to being bar none the best sustainer, support, utility, whatever. I mean, the situation was extremely big, especially because, I mean, Genshin, it was still in the prime of its popularity. More or less, here it was still at the peak. This was inescapable. All in all, I think it's at least debatable. I don't want to call it generational yet. Generational Genshin Crash Out, it was really the first anniversary. I'll put it at justified. I think that's a good place to put it. Now, Fragile Resin. This is more about quality of life in Genshin. As you may or may not know, Genshin but kinda didn't get quality of life for the longest time. Started out with 120 energy, became 160, now it's 200. Still doesn't have resin reserves. It sucks. I hate it. I think like if I know the game, it just goes unjustified. There's nothing else you can really say. Now, Rossi. And this is not drama about Rossi because I don't think there was any. Maybe there was. It's one of those characters that probably got some people mad. But this is not about that. I just didn't know what image to include. This is about Arknight's Enfield's Gacha, and I really want to say that this was a really big debate. And I've said this before. If I need a flowchart to remember how the gacha system works, and your gacha system is to throw in the garbage. Simple as that. Even if numerically, if I save properly, it's the best. It ends up being one of the worst feeling gacha systems in general, because I think I pulled up Rossi because my Rossi pulls went absolutely terrible. In Arknight's Enfield, there are no guarantees after you lose 50-50. You can guarantee a character if you use 120 pulls on that one banner, but that pity towards that 120 doesn't get ported over to the next banner. Only the pity towards a 5-star. A 5-star, not the 5-star. And that ends up feeling terrible because with my Rossi pulls, here's what happened. I lost 50-50 once, I lost the 50-50 twice, and then I had like 10 or so pulls left to get to the 120 to get Rossi. And at that point, I would just rather lose again so that I can just get Rossi and my 120th rather than get her earlier. But then I got it earlier and I got mad about that. It's just one of those gacha systems that even if it is numerically better, it ends up feeling fucking terrible. And I don't know why people, Arknight's Enfield defenders, just don't take that into account at all. I remember seeing MTash crashing out about it, and then I had the same experience. It's like, these are not things that happen once in a blue moon. It's an issue with how the gacha system was designed. It's as simple as that. So yeah, I think it's more than justified. Generational is very hard tag to put on because like it needs to be huge. It needs to be larger than life. Like first anniversary went above and beyond. Review bombed other apps. The Limbus company one turned into a gender war thing. Here, $14 million were stolen. Stellasora, again, this is the most debatable one out of these four in the generational, but like I put it here on the basis that if any other game that was slightly more popular did the same thing. Let's say if NTE did this. That's like the most popular game that released more recently. If NTE did that, that would be something you would remember for a decade. You understand? That's why I put it here. But this one is just one game doing something that people don't like, and it didn't really become larger than life, I don't think. Now, Wuthering Waves second anniversary. I feel like this was more justified than anniversary 1. So I put anniversary 1 in debatable. I feel like people were too harsh on anniversary 1. But anniversary 2, it was more of the same, but a bit worse. It was just more of the same, but a bit worse, I think, in my opinion. Now, NT, we were talking about NT. NT and AI. As you may or may not know, NT has been caught using AI to fill in some gaps and possibly creating designs. It sucks. I think NT is a fun game, and I think you're still valid for liking the game if you just enjoy it. I think it's just one of those things where, do you want this in your game? Yes or no? I mean, do you want this? I mean, I will say that most people wouldn't want it. It's just that, do you care in this one instance? I personally do, but it's not enough to get me off the game. I'll put it in justified. It's just like, you definitely don't need to put AI dog shit into the game, but they did, and that's stuff people don't want. Now, the fact that a lot of characters in CZZ seem to share design philosophies. Listen, Ishuan, I love Ishuan. What the fuck are we doing? And this is just more funny than like a controversy, quote unquote, but I don't think there's really any debate. I mean, of course, if you don't care about it, that's fine. I would put it in justified, but not in the sense that like, I feel like it's a justified criticism. Now, talking about more criticism about ZZZ, that's Remiel. That's a piece from my thumbnail on Zenless Zone Zero's Season 3 debacle. You can have my full opinion about that there, so go watch that video. But very quickly, I think there are some things that have had an impact on the player base in a way that maybe they aren't too good at explaining, but they can definitely feel, to the point that when you introduce Season 3 and it looks completely different from what people had liked so far, it just causes a big adverse reaction. This was huge. I think it's between justified and debatable, because if you ask me, it's simply not unprompted. I don't want to call it justified. I don't want to say that Season 3 is bad, because first and foremost, it doesn't look that bad, and second, it's not even out. But I would not call this a nothing burger. I would not call this a nothing burger. I would not put this in why though, because like I do understand where people are coming from. So it's debatable. It depends on who you ask. If you ask me, not totally unprompted. Now, image very small here as well, but I had to add this in the middle of recording. The bunny girl situation from Impact 3rd. I don't know how this didn't come up in my brain when I was writing out this video, or like, this one is actually generational. Let's talk about it. So basically, back in 2021, MiHoYo released a promotional video to celebrate the 3rd anniversary of the global server. The Valkyries were in it dancing with bunny girl suits, and this truly pissed the CN players off. Some people claimed it was out of character, others felt insulted that their wives were paraded around for Westerners, and even though CN had been favored for years, they decided that this was too much and began review bombing the game. People even threatened to report it to the government because, as you may know, a lot of Chinese games, at least in theory, shouldn't contain suggested material, and so MiHoYo caved in, deleting the video, apologizing with gems on both servers, and of course the Chinese server got 5 times the gems. But it wouldn't be over, because MiHoYo protesters were actively targeting their offices for weeks, and it all boiled up to a point where someone tried to stab HoYoverse's CEO, bypassing security and making it into the building with knives before someone found him suspicious and managed to stop a tragedy from happening. This is absolutely fucking ridiculous and insane. I laugh because it's just, what else can you do in the face of such insanity? I don't think anybody would disagree with the placement on generational, because what the fuck? Now, we got a stock picture of a voice actor, because this is more of a general encompassing of all the voice actor strikes and controversies that happened like what, 2 years ago? 1 year ago? So much happened in here that I can't really explain this without making this video even longer than already is. First and foremost, a lot of HoYoverse VAs were on strike for a plethora of reasons. I think most of it was AI, but I don't really remember. One VA got completely shit on for just taking a role replacement. Meanwhile, he wasn't even in the country where the strikes were happening. It even came out that a lot of the HoYoverse VAs that were on strike weren't really supposed to be on strike. The Paimon voice actress also crashed the fuck out, lost her role. Good riddance, in my opinion. And all in all, it was just such a big situation that is so hard to not put into generational. And now, last but not least, Sandrone's redesign. I included this because it's recent. People don't like that Sandrone got redesigned. People were not happy that Polonia isn't here anymore. People aren't happy that her skirt got cut up. And I will call it justified in your sentiment or in your feeling. But Sandrone is now the drip marketing that has the most likes on Twitter out of every single Genshin Impact character. Not top 3, not top 2, she's number 1. And this is where I always say, even though we've been talking about controversies for like, I don't know, I'm over 2 hours into this recording, by the way. One thing you gotta understand is that for most of these, not even most, like all of them, it's always a loud minority that is the one that actually complains. Most people don't interact with the community in such a passionate way. They just don't. People play the game occasionally. People are actually casual about the game, not call themselves casual and yet play every day and have Genshin PFPs everywhere. But when people see these posts and the likes, you can really know what is actually popular with people. And Sandrone might have gotten a downgrade in her design for sure, but this situation will end up being a nothing burger, and it already is a nothing burger, because she is probably gonna be one of the most pulled characters ever on Genshin Impact. And that's a truth that you kind of just need to swallow. So yeah, I think that's all. Like, comment, subscribe, do all the YouTube stuff you guys already know, and I'll see you in the next one. Mwah.